Welcome to Built to Work, the podcast that gets its hands dirty, dives into the grit, and uncovers the heart of what makes the blue-collar world tick. I'm Colin, your host, and I'm sitting down with the people who keep our world running. From those tackling the tough jobs no one else dares to do, to the HR professionals working overtime to find the labor force we desperately need. Whether you're in the trenches or behind the scenes, this podcast is for anyone who values hard work, determination, and stories that build the backbone of our workforce. So grab your gloves, your coffee, or your clipboard. It's time to get to work. Another Built to Work podcast. Today I am here with my good friend, business associate, business partner, Kenny Burkhead.
That's right.
Kenny and I have gone back 5 or 6 years now.
Yep.
We've done business together. We've owned business together.
Are looking to own another business together.
We've done some things together.
Yeah, we've done a lot in the business community.
Yeah. So Kenny is a personal CFO at Intellicents. So everybody else that doesn't know, tell us briefly about what Intellicents is.
Intellicents started clear back in 1974 by dad, and then it was taken over by two brothers, Brad and Grant. They ended up launching a couple of the first 401k plans, period, in a few states up north, because that was 1974 when you rolled out the 401k plan. So they were the first to say, hey, let's switch from saving to a pension, which is saved by the company, to having the employee save with a match, which started in the 1970s.
Yeah.
So they were one of the pioneers of the 401k space. That's really their main focus until the 2000s. And then they realized they were losing $100+ million a year of people pulling money out of 401k plans because they were just retiring.
Okay.
So then they were like, we need to have a personal wealth management division.
Okay. So
that was in the 2010s. They brought on the Tweet father and son duo from Minnesota, who Matt Tweet's now our president, but brought them on to launch a personal wealth management division.
Okay.
Personal wealth management division has grown over the last 10 years to be $2 billion in assets.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. But really at first it was to serve the 401k participants. So can we provide a great 401k plan, which is third partying that out instead of having your company or your person in charge? You find someone like us and we do all the fiduciary work, all the Form 5500s, the compliance, the testing, all that stuff, and then provide financial planning to the participants.
Okay.
And then when the participants may say, hey, I have a personal account over here, I have a brokerage or an IRA, can you guys manage that as well since you're already doing my 401k? Hey, I'm about to retire, can we do some retirement planning? Can we, how am I going to pay, to live for the next 30 years now that I don't have a salary, or I have kids, or I want to leave money to the next generation, or do I need life insurance? That's kind of the foundation of how it started. Myself, during that same time, started True Wealth and Company with Brian Sarth.
Yep.
And we were really focused on the small business owner and the small business owner and services around them. And then in 2020, we had COVID, and the majority of our clients were speaking not about personal financials. It was like, how do I keep my business open? How do I fill out for a PPP loan? How do I do a disaster recovery loan? How do I, all this stuff around the business. So we knew that there was a huge need around fractional work for that business owner. And we can get into that later about what the world seems as what a business owner should be a professional at versus why services like ours make a lot of sense and help a lot of people. But then we were approached by Intellicents in 2024 because we really had a focus on the small business owner and the high net worth, which the high net worth client has mastered third partying everything. That's normally the reason, one of their strengths of why they get to the level that they get to is because they focus on what they are only good at.
Yeah. And
they third party it all out to everybody else because that gives them time back to focus on what they're really good at, which is how they make all their money. So we said, hey, family office style model, how can we do that for a small business owner? Because if you're a large business owner, which I love to say is you have a CEO, a COO, a CMO, whatever the C's before it, you have a project manager, directors of different divisions, you have a whole bunch of staff, which is really third partying your work. It's outsourcing your work, where the small business owner is like, I have to wear all these hats. So we launched this, a service for our clients to say, hey, what if we wore those hats for you? Which I know we're going to get into later, but that come full circle, they saw that and was like, that was a missing part. We have a lot of synergies because we were also providing 401k plans. Yeah. We were also providing personal wealth management. We were trying to do group life and group health, which they have a group life and group health division now that has like 20 people that's all they do. So again, they're the specialist. Yeah. And then we were focused on the business owners and the high net worth clients. So it made a lot of sense for us to combine together and again, focus on what we're the best at and then bring the other people that's their focus to the table to provide a solution for whatever that client is. If it's a 401k, if it's a personal wealth, if it's a business owner, if it's a high net worth family, if it's a sports star. Now we're truly focused on what is of the things that we're the best at, and then we're bringing people to the table that's all that they focus on, that they're the best at, which provides a better solution for the client of ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how it kind of all came to be, from the Intellicents to True Wealth to our merger together, which closed at the end of last year. I gotta remember. Yeah, it closed at the end of 2023. Yeah, 2023 going into 2024. Wow, it's 2025 already.
It's flown by.
Yeah, so that's how it kind of all came to be.
Yeah. So you guys are masters at doing a lot of specialty things, and that's really how we got hooked up, was with the chief of staff service that you guys were offering and still are offering then. And as when Adam and I had our first company, and all of our back office was kind of in shambles, and we didn't really know what we were doing there, because like you were saying, like, hey, we were good at running the business, right? Operating the business, getting sales, and then performing the work, but some of that other stuff was getting looked over. And when I was introduced to this model, I was like, oh, well, we don't have to go out and buy a full CFO and all of this other stuff that, and we weren't masters in any of it. So bringing in somebody like you that was masters really helped us grow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. That was a fun ride. From a little backstory, before I know Colin was at Premier, he's had 200 doors that he was the property manager for. And by the time it was all said and done together, 5 years later, we were at like 1,300 doors and buying for a PE fund. And like it was a wild ride to go through. But
it was crazy.
We don't know what did it, but I like to say this to my clients now and people, is like, by having you focus on what you were best at is what just allowed that to happen. We couldn't say like, was it me coming in or something else, because we worked side by side together.
Yeah.
But we really focus on fractional CFO work and all of the back office solutions for a business owner, because what I think is a problem in the business owner community now is, when you start a business, the world thinks that you're supposed to be the master at finance, tax, legal, accounting, human resources, payroll, the list goes on and on.
Yes.
When you really just started your business because you love to do something, and you're like, I don't want to work for somebody else, I want to make my own hours, and I love to do X.
Yes.
But the world's like, well, why do your financials suck? And why does your QuickBooks not make any sense? And why are you struggling to pay taxes? And why don't you have enough, cash reserve on the side for rainy day? And what's your burn rate? How do we set budgets and goals, and how do we know we're being successful? Yeah. When you're just like, I love to manage properties, or I love to torch, or I love to, hire people to torch, and I want to just deal with the end client the whole time. The world's like, that business owner has to be special. Like, they have to be the master of all those things. And I just think that's wrong. Just like, I don't know how to torch metal. I don't know how to be a property manager, but I know how to run financials. I know how to work with bankers. I know how to work with the insurance brokers and all the forms and stuff they need on a quarterly basis for bonding requirements, and like all this stuff that seems boring as hell to the majority of people. It's what we're really good at. Yeah. So finding people like you that were like, hey, I suck at this. I suck at this. You're really good at this. Can you do this and let me focus on that? is like the core service that we provide.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really focus on, and I'm a big proponent of it because the businesses that I have run and I'm currently running are service-based. You're a service-based business, and when you get into that area, there is so much to be gained by outsourcing an area that you're not good at to somebody that is good at it. So you can focus on growing your business, doing whatever you want to do, whether it's growing your business or when you're managing real estate, like, hey, I don't want to have to actively manage real estate. I have a day job or whatever that is. But if you can offload that to somebody else, you can focus on what you need to or want to focus on. Right. But then somebody that's an expert at this other segment, when they focus on what they're an expert in, it actually gets better, which helps the whole business, right? It up spirals instead of down spirals.
Yeah, I think what also happens when you third party out work is you're also pulling from a knowledge set that is more than just one or two people. So, say right now that I'm working, I'm just throwing out numbers, say I'm working with 15 total clients that are fractional CFO or that I'm their chief of staff. And when we say chief of staff is like you're the president of the company, like the president of the United States. Yeah. We're the person that just is the job to get everything done. Like you manage all the cabinet members and you manage all the people that are trying to drive where we're going as a country. That's the chief of staff. Now you're the president saying, I really want to grow 5x in the next 15 years or the next 5 years, whatever it is. Then it's my job to say, how do all the people that are in that circle around you, the professionals, how do we drive to that goal?
Yeah.
And, what helps is like if I'm working on that fractionally, I like to say I have a lot of, part-time jobs. I don't have one full-time job, like I have a bunch of part-time jobs. But when solutions happen or problems happen with fixes or successes happen, and all these different businesses with their professionals, now we're drawing on a pool of knowledge that I can take to the other people and say, hey, excuse me, we just had something happen with this client, not that we're going to share that exact story, but now let's say, hey, do we have risks or exposures across all the clients I'm working with? Or if they apply for some credit, can I apply that to a bunch of other different businesses? Or if they have something legal that happens, can I make sure that that doesn't happen to a single one of my other businesses? Because we need to relook at contracts or insurance stuff. And the list goes on, that it's just not one person focused on one business.
Yeah.
It's me focused on 15 and pulling all of the good and the bad and spreading that knowledge around to everybody.
Yeah.
And then I'm normally talking to 5 to 10 CPAs. Well, they all have different thoughts and knowledge to provide to the team that then funnels back to you. So I think like you don't get that when you just hire one full-time person. You get their history and their experience and what they want to research, but you don't get all the professionals at the table across all the different clients providing that knowledge that can then be shared to all.
The cool thing is when you outsource to something like that, and I've talked about it before that we outsource all of our accounting to a CPA firm, right? Or with a PEO where they have all of the HR, all that staff, is not only do you get all of that institutional knowledge that they have, but you also have a scale factor as well too, right? So if you have one accountant or one HR professional, you have all of their experience, and that's basically all the knowledge you have to draw on. But if that person goes on vacation, that person up and quits, gets fired, anything else bad happens, then you have a huge void there, as opposed to partnering with somebody like yourself or some other firms that if something happens to one person, there's somebody else that can step right in, and you don't miss a beat. So then your company's not as vulnerable to outside changes. On the plus side too is with growth, right? If you grow, if you double, triple, quadruple your business, you don't have to worry about hiring 4 more accountants, right?
That's right.
These other firms and people like yourself, they've got a team where they can easily then absorb that growth and that scale. So I think
you just hit the nail on the head. That's one of the main things that we talk about from the start is like what happens when we go to that next level. I'm like, well, that's why in our family office division, which is where we run the fractional CFO services and the personal CFO. The difference, fractional CFOs for a business directly. We normally provide that services to a client that we're already their family office because they have their wealth. It normally comes from like multiple different business lines. So they're like, hey, since you already know me so personally and you know the entire picture, can you step in and help on some of the businesses? Because Normally it's the business owner, which is that family member is running that job.
Yeah.
So, we step in and they're like, what if I buy another business? Okay. That's why we have a team of 9.
Yeah.
That's why we have a CPA team that we partner with, that we pay for the fees for our clients. It's like an extension of us. That's now a team of 15.
Yeah.
The banks have their entire teams. The insurance brokers have their entire teams. So it's like you're truly getting our 401k team is 30 deep.
Mm-hmm.
Our personal wealth management team is 27 advisors deep. So you see, you really, like what you just hit on, there is no limit to growth until, if you're 75 to 100 million of top line, you probably need a full-time CFO because of all it, but that also depends on volume, transactions, what they're actually doing. Are they truly being a CFO or a controller versus an accountant? There's a whole bunch to play right there, but at some point you will. But that's what I feel is success for somebody that's a service offering, is if I can work myself from a job. Mm-hmm. Because we've been so successful and you've grown so large that, hey, you really need somebody 40 hours a week that I can't give you.
Yes.
Let's hire that person. We'll still support all the other stuff, but you may need to start placing people. That's what I feel is my most success, is when I can then start placing people to fill the roles that I'm currently doing because they need them full time.
Those executive leadership roles.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. I remember when we onboarded with you guys, everything was a mess because I pretty much just started the property management company with just a guess.
Yep.
But as we went through everything and just having that whole team, we tackled legal, made sure all legal docs were right, everything was like that. And then we tackled accounting, made sure we got the financial house in order. And then we switched banks to a bank that was going to be a better fit for us. And then we looked at the HR and payroll and all. And it was amazing once I got onboarded with professionals.
Yeah.
Right? Because I had never really run a business before. Sure. I didn't know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got on board with professionals, it was eye-opening. Like, oh, this is how we could really do this.
Yeah, you're really good at making money, which is what a lot of our clients are really good at. They just have a knack for knowing how to make money. So then my job is, all the money you're making, how do we keep it?
Yeah.
How do we limit our risks, limit our exposures, limit our tax liabilities, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the big thing, what you said, is why we go through that. And I think the thing of working with a professional third-party service offering is we know we're trying to work with high net worth clients and business owners. Mm-hmm. And no business owner starts at being I don't want to make very much money. They may start saying that they want to support their family, but at some point it's what are we doing this for?
Yes.
Are we going to grow so it's now going to change that, your family and your kids in the next generation, or are we just going to support to pay bills?
Mm-hmm.
Which is perfectly fine, but really people in that realm are not going to third party out their work, because it's more of do I have enough just to pay my bills? My family's good. The people that normally third party out work are trying to change something. They may want to give more. They may want to change their family and their kids and all that stuff down. They may want to do something for the community. They may want to do it solely to provide a bunch of people with jobs. Well, if you continue to grow your business, now you're providing more and more people with jobs.
Yes.
But when we come in to do that, or another professional unit, we're always preparing for what is that next.
Mm-hmm.
So we just don't do that. We don't clean up the legal and the accounting and all the different buckets, the 6 pillars of business, just because, of course we need to do it because it's professionalizing your business, but it's preparing it for always what is next.
Yes.
If that's a transaction, if that's a merger, if it's a partnership, if it, people want to invest in, we don't want to then be, oh my goodness, we got to get this all prepared because I'm trying to do something. We always want to be prepared so that when that comes, we can just run with that thing that came our way.
Yeah.
The opportunity, and not be oh, I'm super stressed. I have to work all these hours. I have to redo all these financials. I have to redo all these tax returns. I have to get no, we want that to be done right from the very, very beginning. So then we're always in a state of we're ready for whatever it is.
No matter
and then we
comes.
react to it.
Yeah. I know that was the case with us once we got it all done, and we were then approached. Somebody wanted to buy the previous company, and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's go. We got all our documents in place. We were ready for that. We didn't know it was coming.
Exactly.
But we were ready for it.
Yeah.
One thing that I like to hear is stories, and if you can share, I know you have a lot of confidentiality agreements that you have to keep, but of stories of where people have leaned into the outsourcing services, leaned into your services, and how you've seen that affect their business, on the trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were a great one to start with, which thank you for like what it's become now, because you guys were our first.
Yeah.
And now I've worked with, I don't know, probably 15 total companies in that capacity over certain amounts of time, but like you were the first.
Yeah.
So first off, thank you for that. And we had a very successful, there was some peaks and valleys, as all businesses work through, but at the end it was a successful exit. And now you're doing Premier, and that was really great. I think with all of our clients we've worked with across the board, from where we started to where we are now, they've more than doubled their top line.
Okay.
And all of them now with me have more than $1 million saved. So really why this all started was like we saw so many successful people on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're cranking revenue, they're making huge salary.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we go to their personal financial statement, we're like, this doesn't match. And that's what I deem as success, is like, when can the business not matter anymore?
Yeah. Like,
when are you good to where the business is just on top? And it has to be a strategy and a commitment to that of, we got to pay ourselves first. Mm-hmm. And we have to set those goals. And that comes with the goals of the business, is how much is going to be salary, what's fringe benefits, what's distributions, all the different things.
Yeah.
But how are we going to be personally wealthy? Because that takes so much stress off the business. If you can say, hey, I can just shut down the doors and my family's good forever, the decisions you make on the business become a lot less stressful.
Yes, absolutely.
And a lot more easy. So all the clients that we have worked with through this capacity now have real wealth personally, and now their business decisions and stuff we're worrying about, the dynamic of that conversation changes. The stress of a slow quarter changes.
Yeah.
And then the successes of, well, I'm already good over here, so what am I going to do? Is it going to be more charity? Is it going to be, I'm going to leave more money to my kids? Is it going to be like whatever the effect is? There's always some, purpose of why, we're going. But, to be working with upwards of, at one point in time at our peak, we were at like 7 to 9 at one point in time, of clients, and then some have fallen off and some have come on. But to work through them all, to say, when like we can have meetings and I know that all their legal documents are in order and all of their human resources documents, from the handbook to all the different policies to the procedures manual, all that stuff, to their software is all speaking together, with one and over, so it simplifies. Like we keep a chart of that, of all the successes that we've had, and we kind of like a scorecard.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the ones that have followed through to that, now they are personally, wealthy, and now we're still running and growing their businesses and making strategic things, but it's not the foundation anymore. It's all value acceleration. So, what your guys' business did to another one that, we started this through, the bottoms of COVID.
Yes.
So, and then the inflation that came out of that, and then in 2022, where the market was down 20 to 37%, and bonds were down, and lumber was through the roof, like all the stuff, like to now come out the other side with those clients, still, still working with them. That's what I deem success, is the personal conversations, the late night phone calls of working through the hard stuff, because then that makes all the good stuff that comes from that feel so much better when you're like through the trenches with them.
Yeah.
Which I think is unique about us, and a true good third-party provider goes through it with you.
Absolutely.
It's not like, oh, that's not my problem. That's just, another, that's a business that they fold under. That doesn't affect what, like a true one cares.
Yeah. And
you have consistent meetings, and you're available through, like I said, the late night phone calls, the, hey, can we talk for 5 minutes? I need I need you now. Like, we truly go through that with our clients. We truly know them. We know their families. We know their kids. We know what they're trying to achieve. We know their staff. We come on site. They know our faces. We're not just this, oh, who is this, person over here that's doing this? Like, they see us.
Yeah.
We're visible. They know what we're handling. That means a lot to me to like when the business owners start to call me for just random stuff, that they start the conversation. It's like, I don't know if you can help me with that. Normally it's like, that's going to be a good conversation.
Yeah. So you can.
Because I can, it kind of feels weird until they get to the point of like, they understand what the service is.
Yeah.
Which is truly personal CFO is whatever you need that, that can affect your money.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you call me and we'll figure it out for you. And my favorite thing to say is, you know what? I don't know, but let me find out.
Yeah.
And then I go to, we talked about before, we go to that group of people.
Yes.
And say, hey, I got a situation. And then you start collecting all this knowledge.
Yeah. I remember sitting down on that first one. It was kind of like the powwow, and it was like accounting, HR, legal, and like everybody's like kind of sitting around a table trying to figure out, okay, what needs to go here, and there. And it was kind of like, it was overwhelming at first. I was like, well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that I clearly don't know that I didn't know that I didn't know, and a lot of stuff that we need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And that was overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of the personal CFO concept as well. I mean, obviously that's another rung of person that's succeeded financially before they can get to the personal CFO level. But I love that idea too, just kind of handling everybody's personal.
Yeah, so we call it that. It's truly a family office. That's a whole another 15 to 30 minutes sit down of what a family office is, in its entirety. But we realized that, and so many people listening probably relate, because it was me personally before the merger.
Mm-hmm.
When we did the merger, we were a true wealth company wearing all the hats. The number one thing that they said is like, we can take this off your plate. And I'm like, what could I do with 20 more hours a week? Now, what I filled it with was more client work.
Yeah.
But all the behind the scenes of running a business, I realized I didn't like doing it for myself, which is funny. I didn't like actually having to do it for myself.
You love doing it for other people.
But I love helping other people too.
Yeah.
But I didn't like actually doing it for myself. So, because I don't know, it's just who I am as a person, that if, that I know that if I can help you succeed, you're going to make more money. I'm going to make more money. The staff's going to have a better place to work. The list goes on and on. It's like this ripple effect. So when they came to us, they were like, hey, we can take this off your plate. That was almost like another moment in time where Sarf and I sat down. We said, families would want this. Like, what if we could pay their bills and manage their receipts, and they want to, buy and sell a home? We handle that entire process for them, from working with the realtors to the bankers. If they want to buy and sell a business, we're normally signers on their accounts, and we normally have the ability to actually sign the loan documents. I don't know how many clients have been, traveling, because I'm giving them time back.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm going to send you some. Can you sign it? And I have a POA for them.
Yeah.
So I sign it for them because they're out with their family. They don't even want to deal with it or think about it. Or, hey, I need you to go, run to the bank, and can you deposit this check and transfer money here and there? But I have the ability to, because I have the ability on their account. So it's truly like, that takes huge trust. And I tell everybody, like, you're not going to get that in the first, we want to portray trust. That's the sole purpose of our job. That's the number one thing, is trust. So we can't ever break that, but it takes time to earn that. Mm-hmm. So normally, as we work into that relationship, and then once they're fully in, they're like they're never going to go back, because it's like, we file your tax returns. You don't have to worry about doing anything. We fully do the tax returns, and that's just one example. But when you make more money, what I've realized from all my clients is the number one thing is time.
Yeah.
And that can be, you want more time on your actual business because you love what you do, and it's why you get up and you get fired up and all that stuff. And then, or it's maybe for your family, or maybe it's for fun. You want to go to more sporting events, you want to travel more, you want to be able to go skiing whenever you want, or go to the beach whenever you want. Yeah. To have that flexibility is my sole job. That's why I say, if I can just give you 5 more hours a week, like, what are you going to do with it? And like, what would you pay for that? It normally ends up being far more than 5 more hours, but like, if I can give you 5 hours of just not worrying about the back end of the business, not even looking at what we do on the personal, not even looking at how it all fits together, like, what's that worth?
Yeah.
And a lot of business owners, it's just like, the one thing that they have that they don't have enough of is time. And I think if you truly find a third party that you can trust and have a great relationship like you guys have now, because I know your CPA firm and I know who you guys work with on the PEO, and like the scalability and the amount of time that gives you back is now why you've been so successful, with Premier Scrap.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So it really is, and the one thing that you can't ever get back is time.
That's right.
It's the most valuable commodity. It's more valuable than money. You have all the money in the world, no time, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
So I love that that's your focus. So, well, I don't have any other questions. I appreciate you sharing with me. You guys have an awesome business. I'm a big advocate for you guys. I love
yes,
it.
You are.
And value our friendship. So
all right,
I appreciate it.
Let's go find another one.
Absolutely.
The views expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of Intellicents or its affiliates. This content is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as investment, legal, or tax advice. Any references to past client success, business growth, or financial outcomes are not indicative of future results. Individual results may vary based on a wide range of factors, including client circumstances, market conditions, and service use. Mentions of third-party service providers such as CPAs, PEOs, or insurance brokers are for illustrative purposes. Intellicents may refer clients to third-party providers, but such referrals do not constitute an endorsement, and clients are not obligated to engage those services. Intellicents and its representatives may offer multiple services, including retirement plan consulting, investment management, and business advisory solutions, which may create potential conflicts of interest. Intellicents discloses and manages these conflicts in accordance with our fiduciary duty and regulatory obligations. Testimonials from clients or partners may not be representative of the experience of other clients and are not a guarantee of future performance or success. This podcast should not be construed as an offer to sell or a solicitation of an offer to buy any securities or investment services. Any such offer or solicitation will be made only through appropriate channels and regulatory documents. Clients' names, financial details, and business outcomes discussed in this podcast are shared with the permission or anonymized. Intellicents is committed to protecting client confidentiality in accordance with applicable privacy laws and firm policy. Investment advisory services are offered through Intellicents Investment Solutions Incorporated, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. For more information, please review Intellicents Form ADV available upon request at 1-800-880-4015 or through the SEC's website.